Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you back to the Slangin The Bizkit podcast, the new Slangin The Bizkit. This is going to be episode 27. My name is Travis Ridgen. I play for the Motor City Rockers, number 33 on the ice, number 33 on the bench as well. Starting right bench, I'm on the season-ending IR after getting hip surgery. I am joined by quite possibly the greatest legend in all of professional hockey. We refer to him on this podcast as the Jackie Moon of professional sports. He has single-handedly added 10 to 15 minutes of programming to every podcast episode we have done since September. Welcome, player, owner, coach of the Mississippi Seawolves, Joe Pace.
Thank you.
How are you, man?
I'm not full Jackie Moon. I don't own the team. That's Barry, but I definitely operate.
So you're not an owner. You're not any shareholders.
No, I've definitely given Barry a hard time about that. You work for so many years, you're like, okay, instead of a raise, how about you just give me a piece of the team?
That's awesome. It's like working like a corporate job, and after a certain period of time, you start getting shares and you get more invested in the company until finally you just get bought out.
Yeah, right. And I just wanted to be a partner and not be a part of the cash calls. You know, when they need more cash, don't call me.
That's a different department. Let me transfer you over there.
Yeah, that's the big owners.
Now, I know I got to ask, and I'm sure a lot of people are curious as well. We've been, Dave, my co-host, and I, Dave Wheeler, we've been hyping you up so much the past couple months. When I say Joe Pace, what comes to mind? Like, who is Joe Pace? What does he do? And how much of a majority share does he own in the Delaware Thunder after last weekend's performance?
Number one entertainer. That's it. A long time ago, I just thought we were out there playing pro hockey, and then one day it clicked, and I'm like, we're not just athletes, we're entertainers. And after that, everything changed. But we do own Delaware now, the whole state.
Not just the team, the whole state of Delaware.
Yep. So, that's it. We just took over. It's a tiny little state. Don't worry, it was cheap. Just 6 points bought the whole state.
To provide some context to people that may not know what we're talking about, so the Mississippi Seawolves did a road trip down in Delaware. They played a 2-game Friday, Saturday games, and after the series sweep of the weekend, the legend himself went on Instagram to announce that the sweep had been completed. The state of Delaware had been purchased by the Mississippi Seawolves after that 6-point performance, and Mr. Pace's favorite U.S. president has been evicted from the state of Delaware. You can leave any time because I own it now.
That pretty much sums it up. We just wanted to have some fun with it. And I had never been to Delaware. There's not much to do there. Harrington, Delaware, it's a really small like farming town. And we were just joking that we hit the casino on the way out of town. We doubled our paychecks. We bought the whole state of Delaware. That was it.
To the Chino and back to Mississippi, huh?
Yep, that easy.
That is awesome. So you say you're an entertainer, right, as opposed to more of a professional hockey player, and I would completely agree. I think that at the pay rate of 125 to 250 a week, we absolutely should be falling into the entertainment factor because let's be honest, people in Winston-Salem aren't coming to see the top players in the world. They're coming to see, as we discussed last week, they want to see NASCAR on ice. They want to see some action. And I think I was told a story the other day by one of the Columbus River Dragons players. He messaged me right away when I mentioned in the podcast that you were coming on. And he says, I have the most Joe Pace story to tell you about. And I said, what's that? And he says, this season, we're playing in Columbus. Joe Pace just yard sales me into the boards. And before I can even get up, I look up, and there's you looking over him saying, don't worry, buddy. It's nothing personal. It's just business. We're just trying to raise ticket sales here for when we go back to Mississippi this weekend. True or false?
Oh, that was probably true.
You have any idea who that would have been?
That was probably Greco.
Yep.
I don't know. I've had a few run-ins with him, but there's so much stuff. From competing on the ice. Fans want to see us NASCAR on ice, but we play every game like it's a playoff game. And, hockey fans love to see NHL playoff hockey. Well, in the Fed, you get that style of hockey every single night from game 1 all the way to game 56. Guys are going, you could say 110 every game because, you never know when it's going to be your last game. You never know who's going to watch that game. And, Oh, I'll take a look at this guy, bring him down to Pensacola or Macon. So everyone's just, clawing and bent and just, trying to bite and class onto that last little bit of, their career to climb that ladder. So even guys like Giuliano and C and myself, Justin Barr, I'm sure Justin Barr wouldn't be opposed to taking a call up for a weekend or two and having some fun. So it's, it's a different style of hockey. We still like to promote that blue collar, rough and tough 80s style of hockey, even though we don't get the clutching and grabbing. Even though I would like that, I would like to just hook a guy when he's going around me like I used to, and not get called for it. But that physical style of play that we're known for is why fans are coming out. And then you go to a major league sporting event. Do you ever get to meet? Like A-Rod or Jeter? You went to 50 Yankees games. Did you ever meet the Yankees? Well, you went to one Motor City Rockers game and you met the whole team. So, that's it. That's that style of entertainment where it's like a lot of fan interaction and things like that. You tell the guy, it's not personal. We're just selling tickets here. And then, I might even hit him and then, wave to a fan that's right there on the glass. Who knows?
I had to ask that there was a fan in Binghamton that said, if you do not ask this question, I will never listen to the podcast again. And he said, I was asked to give Joe Pace Twizzlers on the bench in Binghamton between shifts. Can we comment on that?
Oh yeah, there was a guy. I think he was behind the penalty box or something. The first night, stole his candy, and then the next night he sat right behind the bench, and he was just feeding me Twizzlers all night. I think I played the whole game with a wadded up Twizzlers in the side of my mouth like it was chew.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I actually, there was a off-ice official in Columbus. She got kicked out of the penalty box, never allowed to work in the penalty box again. I told her, I was like, you don't have candy in here? So the next night, Saturday night, she had a big bag of Skittles, and we were just, I'd skate by and just get a handful of Skittles in between whistles. And finally, they told her, you can't feed the players, you can't interact with the players, and they booted her. So I'm like, I always said I apologize for that, but that shouldn't be like frowned upon.
She got fired for that.
Now fired. She got moved to another off ice official's position. So now she does plus minus from in the stands.
What a demotion.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, booted out of the penalty box for bringing Skittles.
She's trying to help the guys, trying to feed the players.
Yeah, right? Glucose levels were low.
There was one of the security guards in Motor City this year. She's an amazing lady. I can't remember her name, but if she's listening, I apologize. But she was working the security for our bench, and obviously I'm there because I'm on the bench every night. And she comes up to me and says, somebody dropped their debit card beside the bench. Is there a way for us to go and get it? And I said, oh yeah, sure. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'll go, I'll get on my hands and knees and I'll try to dig it out, or maybe there's a way we can find it. And one of the guys gave me shit and gave her shit, like, you can't be interacting with the fans, you can't be on the bench, who cares? And I'm like, the lady's debit card just fell. She doesn't have it. Like, that's how she's gonna buy more tickets. We got to get her the card back so she can buy more tickets.
Yeah, how's she gonna go buy hoodies and merch and more concessions? Like,
She's gonna open up a tab and it's never gonna get paid.
no, that's the stuff that it's like you can't interact with the fans. I don't understand that because they're the ones that are paying our paychecks. Without them, I don't know where we go.
You're not here, I'm not here. There's no FPHL, there's no games, there's like none of this exists without the fans who show up to the game, because there's no major TV deals. I mean, for goodness sakes, the games are broadcast for free on YouTube, which I gotta say, that's like one of the best things. I love that since I've kind of gone home, I've got my hip surgery, I can still stay up to date with all the Motor City games on YouTube. I can watch your games, I can watch any game I want for free, and the atmosphere in those live chats too is crazy. The fans are very, very passionate and heated in those YouTube live chats. I got to watch what I say sometimes, but
I've never even watched it or looked in there. But it took years to do that. We were on numerous different platforms. It was $7 a game, or so much money a month to subscribe. And sometimes the feed would cut in and out, or people would get kicked out, couldn't sign back in. This has been amazing for family, friends, players, coaches, coaches from other leagues to try to look at guys. I think it was a great way to promote the league. And, I feel like you get so much more given away for free than, charging someone $7 a game to watch it from, halfway across the country.
Do you think too? One of the problems, I don't want to say problems, but I think like one of the bigger things like for the Fed to be successful is trying to grow fan bases. And I know, the guys who are cutting the checks or they want to get their money back. They're businessmen. They're not throwing away cash just because they're charity cases. They want to make money. But when teams, and I think, I know you may not like them, but Columbus and Carolina are two great examples. I know you're early on with Mississippi, but when you start growing the fan base and you build that culture in the community, it is so profitable because the fans they can't get enough. I mean, Carolina sells out. It seems like every single night. Columbus has a crazy fan base. Binghamton has a crazy fan base. Mississippi, I looked at the numbers the other day. I was, in no disrespect, I was floored by how many people you guys are getting to every single game on the attendance records. I mean, you guys had almost 9,000 in Baton Rouge for the next expansion team.
Yeah, the games, the neutral site games last year here and this year in Baton Rouge have been phenomenal turnouts. It's like, the South wants hockey back, and the South was really big in the 90s. You think the Ice Skaters came in the East Coast League. There was a whole I-10 rivalry down here from, it was New Orleans, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, Biloxi, Pensacola, and I think Tallahassee, and everyone was right on the I-10, and it was rocking, and you really didn't have to travel too far. I think going up to Jackson, Mississippi, or Birmingham was a far trip, or Columbus. Everyone else was one highway to everyone, and we're getting a few of those cities back, and I'm just happy they're in our league. And I know some people are jealous. They wanted their cities to get hockey back, but East Coast League or SPHL, and I think very soon after hockey returns, they're not disappointed that it's the Fed. Everyone has these ideas of what it is before it actually arrives, but then I think everyone's pleasantly surprised and pleased by the product on the ice and just the way the guys are, and it's the whole thing all combined, all the pieces that come together. We got good officiating. I know everyone's always hard on the refs, but they're not young guys. We got some veteran guys, so I like interacting with them. They're fun to have around. The players on the ice, we have the good mix. Every team's got at least eight to 10 rookies. We got a lot of young guys, but then you immediately jump to, the old grizzled grandpa vets, and we're as old as dust. Most of us were all born in the 80s now. And yeah, it's just fun. After every game, wherever we are, there's always some post-game event at the arena or at a, local establishment. Gives the fans a chance to interact with us and have fun. And, once you meet the players and shake their hands and talk to them in person, everything changes.
I want your opinion on this. Now, I had a little bit of a rude awakening with my first experience in the Fed, almost 4 years ago in Columbus, when beforehand I was under the impression, like everybody thinks online, that the Fed is a literal men's league where you get a couple bucks a week, there's a couple extra perks, but it's not very good hockey. And when I showed up, I was amazed at like these guys are genuinely like running my show. Like this is not what I was led on to believe. And now, fast forward to now this year with Motor City, where I know we have some very good players, but the pacing is pun intended, is incredible. Like guys are just so skilled. They'll burn you at any point in time. And it's not just Motor City or Mississippi or Columbus. Like all guys in the league are skilled. All guys are good. Like the talent is incredible. Like I'm curious for like what you see with how good the Fed actually is compared to what the rest of the world believes.
Well, my first year in the Fed, we were going back to the house and playing one of the NHL games, and guys were picking Montreal and playing with Pierre Dagenet. And the next weekend, we're going on the ice and playing against Pierre Dagenet. So, my first year in the Fed, we had a handful of ex-NHLers playing in the league, and that's kind of how I was introduced to it. I was like, if a guy could play in the NHL 2 years ago, and then go to the KHL, and then go from NHL, KHL, FHL, I was like, it's not too good for me or too good for anyone else. It's just another step on the ladder. It's, another point to climb. So, it was nice, for a long time, we were more, just a feeder to the SP. I know now lots of people want to like rival them and be almost equals one day. But it's still nice when we send guys there. Everyone gets a bump in pay. Most of the time, if you're going from up north, you're coming to the south, you're coming to a warmer city, hang out. But they got a lot of good organizations there and the good tradition. I think now we're catching up with them going into I think next year will be year 14 of the league. I think I could be wrong, could be 15. Been hit in the head a lot. I'm bad at counting, but I think our product on the ice this year has been phenomenal. We got guys, if they could be a little more consistent, they're East Coast Hockey League players. They're right there, and we've had a few guys over the last 10 years that made the jump, and thanks to those shortened seasons and needing players, they all got their chance in the SB or the Coast, and kind of stuck. I know there's a guy Sopel. He was in Danville years ago. Played in the A for a little bit, just like Chris Levier. Lev's got his taste in the A few years back. So, we've had guys, climb the whole ladder almost. So, I can't wait for our first Scotty Darling story where guy comes out of college, starts in the Fed, and finishes winning a Stanley Cup in the NHL. So, I think the product it gets better every year. It changes. It's a lot younger and faster right now than it was 10 years ago. But you see it in the net. Guys could shoot the puck. We got guys that have NHL shots. It's just, maybe their hockey IQ isn't where, the guys at the top level are.
Or maybe they spend a little bit too much time at the Chino after games, or they blow their entire paycheck and can't, get summer training. But no, I absolutely agree. You're right. Like even in practice, like the skill that guys have, like, I mean, like just on our team, Kosh, Conway, Ian White is another interesting one. Now he's a personal friend, and I'll say this because of that. But he comes down the wing in practice and would shoot on me, and he lines up, and it looks like, what is this guy doing? He doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. But somehow every shot finds the back of the net somehow, some way. And like, there's so many guys like that. I mean, even with the teams like Delaware or even like a Watertown where maybe they're not doing as well as they would like, there's guys that can absolutely put the biscuit in the basket and make you look silly at any point in time. It's crazy the skill level. And I will say, to piggyback off your comment about the Fed to the NHL Scott Darling story, the closest there would have been last year. Personal friend of mine, Dylan Kelly, DK, went from playing with the Elmira Enforcers and Danbury Hat-Tricks up to the SP with Macon, up to the Coast with Kansas City and the Rapid City Rush, and then finishing with the San Diego Gulls, getting his first AHL win, and now he's back on the East Coast with, I believe, Kansas City. But that's probably the closest Scotty Darling story there's been in the Fed Zeno to date.
I know, and it was cool. We actually owned his rights this summer for a little bit.
You picked him up from Motor City, right?
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with him, but... right? We had the rights to a guy that plays in the A.
Yeah, so what do you do? He's never going to report.
And the guy we had here, he loved things like that. That's how we drafted in the exhibition draft this year, and that's, I feel like we didn't get the greatest start. We had a good team, but the minute everyone realized, we could play and you can't take a night off against us, and they started showing up, our young guys just, couldn't handle it. But yeah, in that expansion draft, we went just all for names, resumes, just so it looked good on paper. But at the end of the day, you drafted guys like Everett Thomas and, Lambden and, guys like that. And I think even maybe Von Clauston, and, you built it, you had a little good core group, and, you guys started off hot.
It's interesting. I saw it go from at the very beginning where we're kind of, even with Port Huron and winning, losing games, and then we started picking up like the Koshes and the Conways and the Whites, and we started getting some extra players. We started winning every single game. Now, obviously, for my sake, that's terrible, because if we win every single game, I'm never going to play again. But to see the skill level in the team go up was awesome. And unfortunately, Motor City's lost a lot of guys to injuries, to the SP. I know Ian White texted me, a couple days before he officially went up to Norfolk in the East Coast League. But the skill level in Motor City was really good, at least at the time when I left. Obviously, I don't know what it's like now because I'm not skating, but
Well, when Whitey showed up last year, that was a big signing, and everyone was very intimidated. Oh, they got an NHL guy, 500 games in Columbus. They were already a strong team at the time. And his first game, I was like, no way this guy played in the NHL. The Rust, he was still knocking it off with a sledgehammer at that point. But by probably 2-3 weeks later, he was buzzing again, and he already looked like an NHL caliber guy again. And I was like, that was a quick turnaround. It was just a few weeks.
I found the same thing too. First week or so of practice, he didn't necessarily look like an NHL player, but just after that week, found his groove, and every pass on the tip. I never saw him miss a pass after that, and just even in games, I think he was a point per game. He's always finding guys, and he was he was just shifty. You wouldn't notice him until you did, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, and congrats Sam. He's in the East Coast Hockey League right now. Got the call up last week, and hopefully he sticks it out the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's awesome. Fellow Winnipegger as well. Him and I are both. Well, he's born and raised just outside of Winnipeg. I'm from Winnipeg, and yeah, he's an awesome guy. Awesome guy. If you get a chance to listen, I don't know if you have the previous podcast with Ian. We went over a story from going from the NHL, World Juniors, signing bonus, Toronto Maple Leafs getting traded for Dion Phaneuf to the Wings, drug addiction, overcoming all that, coming back to the Fed, and some tough personal stuff in his personal life. But it was a really awesome story to witness and to hear in person, and then share with them on the podcast here as well, if you haven't had a chance, Pacer.
Well, no, yeah, last year to hear his story for the first time when I was playing against him, and just see him having fun and getting back on track. It was just awesome to see. You're always happy for someone with a success story like that and a comeback story, second chance at the game and life. So hopefully everything from here on out for that guy just goes well, because he definitely deserves it.
I think I know exactly where his comeback started. It was when he got himself a pair of amazing Sheath Underwear, the presenting sponsor for this podcast, and I'm going to tell you why. Some guys have a north-south problem, like Joe Pace. Some guys have an east-west problem, like myself. Whatever the problem that you have is, we all have the problem that it sticks to the side of our leg. It's a hot, sunny day out in Mississippi. It's a hot, sunny day in Winston-Salem, Carolina, Columbus, Georgia, and it just sticks to the side of your leg. It's uncomfortable. You get a pair of Sheath Underwear. You can literally thread the biscuit into the basket with their dual pouch technology. It is a segregated compartment where you can put your twig and your biscuits into, so they cannot touch. They cannot touch the side of your leg, and everything is breathing. It is comfortable. And again, this is the team at Sheath Underwear. They've pioneered the dual pouch and their incredible cooling bamboo mesh technology. You got to get a pair of Sheath Underwear, and you can do so on the video version of the podcast. If you go to the YouTube video description, you'll find a link there with the code BIZKIT69. That's BIZKIT 69. It's going to get you 20% off, the best underwear money can buy, if you're on Apple, Spotify, or the Google Podcasts. The podcasting notes on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Click that link, and it'll take you right to the Sheath Underwear website. You get 20% off. You get the best underwear money can buy, and I think Joe Pace could use a set of those after some of the stories that I've heard from him.
Yeah, I might need it. I wasn't much of the guy with the garment bag for my jerseys and my own personal stick bag in youth hockey, but I feel like these underwear belong to that guy.
Exactly. Like Robert is the owner of Sheath Underwear. He used to work he was in the U.S. military, and he would go weeks on end without changing his underwear. And I'm assuming he had a north-south problem, because you don't think of these ideas when you have an east-west problem like me. But you get that north-south problem, and he said, I gotta get some underwear that's gonna keep everything separated. And then out was Sheath born, and they've been going for 10 years and going strong. So
I like it.
It's an awesome story. Speaking of things that I liked, I think one of the first stories that I heard this season about you that made me think, God damn it, I need to get this guy in the podcast. I need to hear more. I want to hear from the horse's mouth, not just the rumors. Was when you're player coach, I should say, not owner, with the Port Huron Prowlers, I was told that to increase ticket sales and get people into the rink earlier, because you wanted them buying beer sooner, and they're getting thirsty, they need their popcorn, they're buying more popcorn, they're getting thirsty, buying more beer. You implemented the shootout after warmups before games. Now, for those that are maybe missing, a couple pieces of the pie here. So the way hockey works is you play first period, second period, third period, overtime, and then a shootout if the game is still tied. What Joe Pace did was take the shootout and put it after warmups. So you had to come for warmups to witness the shootout. And if the game went to overtime, if you didn't score, whoever won the shootout won the game. So the overtime would basically become, for one team, keep away, don't let the other team touch the puck. And for the other team, we need to score. And this was what Mr. Pace did, apparently, to increase ticket sales. Could I get your Can I get your side
Oh,
of the
I
story?
wish I could take credit for this one. This was his Scott Hockey Brand down there, and he is in Columbus now promoting hockey, but he was in Winston-Salem, and we were just going to be the visiting team for this, you know, three-ring circus, but I ended up taking over the promotion side of it. I was trying to get fans into it, but it was Scott's idea because the Carolina Thunderbirds fans had 2 seasons of hockey and their team had been in a shootout on the road, but never a shootout at home. So he said the Carolina fans have never witnessed the shootout. It's the greatest thing in hockey. It's so exciting. But like he's like, but we keep winning in overtime or in regulation. So they don't get to experience it. So could we do this? And the league was like, okay. So they're like, cool, do it, Scott. And so they're like, perfect. Well, Barry's other team's coming down Port Huron. We'll do it against them. And I was like, okay, well, it's on. So I did a promo video where I said, you know, the hottest player in the league shooting first, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, it's not Matt Robertson. It's not my goal scorer with 100 points. It's not Dalton Jay. I lit my stick on fire that was soaked in alcohol, and the blade went on fire. I was holding this stick on fire. I'm like, I'm shooting first. It was crazy promo, just having fun. And I went first. I scored on, I think it was Pavlos. He just re-signed in the league. But yeah, we won the shootout. We lost the game. Second night, we win the shootout again, and we go to overtime. And the fans are like, what is Andre doing? The Carolina coach are like, what's he doing? He pulled the goalie. They're like, why did we pull the goalie? It's overtime. Oh no, they had no idea. I'm like, because of the pregame shootout, you know, whoever, you know, tied overtime, the winner was already awarded. It was done. And yeah, so OT ended in a tie, and we went and skated and celebrated with our goalie. And it was one of the weirdest things. And yeah, we had to finish overtime. I think it was, we got a penalty. So it went 4-on-3. He pulled the goalie. It was 5-on-3. The guy came out of the box 5-on-4, and they just had the puck hemmed in our end, just going. And we didn't even get a chance to try to ice it at the empty net. But we squeaked it out. But at both days, I sent all D-men in the shootout, and we won. I was like, oh, man. I was like, have we been doing it wrong this whole time? Should we just let all the D-men shoot in the shootout? The Saturday night game, we did warm-ups, did the ice, went out, did a shootout. After the shootout, went out, did the national anthem, and then a ceremonial puck drop, and then a shootout. And then we had a fight right off the draw. Eggers Oslins fought some guy right off the face-off. And then finally we started the game after all that. So tell me you're not entertained.
Well, and for $7, because I'm assuming $7, $10, whatever the price may have been, you are getting the ultimate value, right? Like you can bring the family of 4 down for under $30, maybe under $40, and you just got to witness warm-ups, which I personally think is some of the most exciting hockey out there. You get to see guys in their natural habitat. That might be just a goalie thing that I'm speaking off of, but I find warm-ups very fascinating. You got the shootout, you have the fight off the opening draw, the puck drop, the anthem, and we haven't even started the game yet. We haven't even technically started giving you value for your ticket price yet. And then you're going to get a full 60-minute game. Like, how do you beat that value?
Right, and wait till the first intermission when I wrestle a bear.
Did that actually happen?
No, like Jackie Moon.
No, I figured, but
But I really want to do that promotion. In between periods, Joe Pace wrestles a bear.
What kind of bear would you fight? A grizz, a polar bear, a black bear, a brown bear? What kind?
It has to be a bigger bear. It's got to be a black bear, probably. Someone that's trained. I don't need him going for the jugular.
It'd be better if you were up in the SP and you're playing Knoxville and you brought out like a polar bear. That would be very, very, very fitting.
Oh man. Well, last year, again, to go back to the SP for a little bit was a blast. And I tried to bring this entertainment side there and, where things are, it's leveled up. The level of professionalism is leveled up. The guys, the way they try to, block out the fans and just focus on the game. And then you got me waving to fans in the middle of the game or at face-offs winking at them, like giving kids thumbs up, teasing them when they're watching guys warming up, smack the glass in front of their face and scare them or whatever. So, the guys there were definitely a little bit in awe of like, what is this guy doing? Like, what's going going on? And I'm like, we have to wear helmets and warm-ups. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I come from the Fed. I was like, you wear baseball caps, no hats, you do your hair. It's like, wear sunglasses if you want to.
Well, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, and I think that by taking the helmet off, and I know Wheeler's not on the podcast today, but he agrees as well. By taking the helmet off in warmups and showing your full face, you're building the brand. You're allowing the fans to make full contact with your face visually and start to register. That's Joe Pace. That's so and so. Like, these are the players that, like, it sinks into their head, as opposed to, like, let's say, like in college, they're wearing the bubble, they're wearing the cage. It's almost impossible to build that brand because you can't actually put a name to a face, literally and figuratively.
No, exactly. You nailed it. We argued it a few years ago. We said, okay, with the chance of getting hit with a puck or a stick or, crashing into someone or falling and hitting your head, it's a risk versus reward. I was like, it's up to the guys. The guys, we played this game ourselves. I even said, if guys don't want to wear a half shield, you don't have to. I was like, I understand the straight on contact of a puck. Great protection. Stick comes up, it gets caught in there, causes more damage. Most of the hits comes down, cuts you open. I would take off the half shield in a second if I was given a choice. Just like when they gave me the choice for helmets for warm-ups, it came off in 1 second. I was like, I'm never wearing it again. Last week in Delaware, they said, you can't warm up in Delaware without a helmet. So I went, I touched the ice, I took one shot, and I got off. I was like, I don't warm up with a helmet. I think I took a 35-second warm up.
I'm picturing you doing the 100-meter dash from the entrance from the locker room right onto the ice, grab the first puck, rip it at the net, quick buzz around, back off the ice, helmet off.
Pretty much, and I did it the one night with my skates untied.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I'm like the last guy dressed, and I'll just fly down there, skates untied. But it was part of a power skating regiment we did years ago, where for the first 5 minutes of practice, you would skate with your skates untied to build up strength in your ankles and your lower foot, and have a better base. Well, 1 year that happened. It was actually during the short and COVID season. It was Port Huron versus Elmira. We go out on the ice, and everyone meets at the red line, and they're all getting all mad, and I'm stretching. I stand up, I go up next to Tyler Jurich, I flick my skate off, and I hold it up to his neck. And I was like, only me and Happy Gilmore have ever stabbed someone. I was like, you want to be the next guy? And he's like, how'd you get your skate off this fast? I was like, you don't worry about that. But yeah, you got to ask Jurich about that one. That was a good one. I think there's even tape of that somewhere floating around. Someone's got footage of that. So I actually didn't get in trouble for it because it was more a comical side. I wasn't actually trying to stab them. Just want to make that true before they give me a 10-game suspension out of nowhere.
Joe Pace is the only guy in professional hockey history to try to take off his skate and stab somebody.
Leading goal scorer in the league too. Jurich, I'm coming for you.
Oh my God! What a weapon! Absolute weapon.
Yeah, and it just so happened it was like I knew something was going to happen from the night before, but I was late getting dressed, and I just wanted to get down there, get out there with the guys. So yeah, skates were completely untied, and I just saw it happening. I was like, oh, I got to. I was like, I'm never going to get another chance to do this.
That's amazing. You ever seen Daryl Evans, former legend for the Kings? He skates with no laces at all. Like, the tongues are literally like hanging out. Daryl Evans, he's probably in his 60s, I'm going to give or take. Used to play for the Kings, no laces, and will just skate around. You wouldn't even be able to tell he has no laces on. He's got such strong ankles. It's incredible.
And that's kind of where we started doing it. I would have never thought of going out there and skating for 5 minutes and warm-ups with my skates untied, but it was part of a power skating regiment we were doing in Danville years ago with Curtis Brackenberry, and he was an old Edmonton Oiler, and got real into power skating and training, and we got him to come down and work with us for a week when we had no games, and taught us a few things that I've just always tried to keep working on and trying to get better at. But skating with your skates untied, that was one of them.
I gotta ask that. Like, I know like a lot of people have questions, and this is one of the ones that I have for you. That's pops up to my mind the most is like how do you keep doing this? I know that you're coming up close to almost 500 games played, which is by far the Feds record, and congrats to that when that does happen shortly. But you're 38. You got 3 kids, a wife, family. You just mentioned the dogs before we started recording here. Like, how have you kept the dream alive and kept going and still love it? Still love the game. You're still doing it at an extremely high level and producing both on and off the ice every single day. How have you managed to keep doing that?
It's just so much fun. And there was one year I did take off. I went and got an EMT license, took some firefighting courses, applied for jobs. I was working at the rink, doing power skating. I was doing private lessons. I was coaching a Bantam team, working in the pro shop, running the concession stand. You're doing all this stuff. I'm working 6 jobs, and I was like, I'm making the same money I made last year playing in the Central League. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm going back to play. And time was passing me up, and there's no time left to get invited to a coast camp. The U-Haul was pretty much gone. It had absorbed and pretty much disappeared. It turned into the IHL again, and then that was folding, and teams were joining the coast. And the Central League was on its last leg. Not many strong organizations left down there. And, just I think a year later, they joined the coast and kind of dissolved. I wanted to get back into hockey. I didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going to go. And got a call from Barry. He wanted to have lunch. And we knew each other because my younger brother played hockey with his son growing up in Chicago. And I knew him when he owned the Toledo Storm, never played there. We went out to lunch, and he brought up the opportunity of going down and playing for a team in the Federal Hockey League. And I was like, where's this? Danville, Illinois. I was like, oh, I know that city, the old Danville Wings. And it kind of all worked itself out. I got down there. There was a coach down there. He was treading water, couldn't keep his head above water. It was just too much. And I had never done it before, but, I told Barry, I was like, yeah, it looks like you need more season ticket holders. You need more sponsors. It's like you need more promoting. And he's like, and that was after one weekend of going to visit. He's like, oh, what do you think about Scott? I was like, I think he's an absolute maniac. I was like, he's like, oh, you think he's going to be a good coach? I was like, no. I was like, he's like, well, you want to go down there and join him? I was like, no, but I guess I will. And it was an adventure. The first 3 weeks I was in Danville was an absolute, it was just a hellstorm. Everything you could think to go wrong in pro hockey, it went wrong in those 3 weeks, from bad housing to buses breaking down to coaches getting fired and new coaches coming in. And, he was here a week, he's gone. It was just turnover after turnover. Things happened. My dad came down to coach us. He fell. He got tripped on the ice at practice by a guy that lost his edge. No equipment manager guy gets got no edge, crashes into the coach. He's in the hospital now. It was just one thing after another. It was just unbelievable. But, on that team, we had a bunch of good guys, but, a few names there still floating around. Justin Barr was there with me. Daniel Amesbury was there with me. So, we had a crew, and, we got through that season. It got better and better. And 4 years in Danville, and then we left for Port Huron, and 6 years there. Now, this was the greatest move we could have ever made, is, coming down here, bringing hockey back to, the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, being here in Biloxi. We love it. Even when the weather's bad, it's still way better than anywhere else.
I gotta admit, deep down, I am a little bit jealous. Like we mentioned earlier, you're in Mississippi. You have this amazing weather every single day. Whether it's September, December, it's still better than minus 30 in the prairies where I grew up on. That's Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. You have these crazy fans that are passionate. They love NASCAR on ice, which is what they're getting every night in the Fed. They're getting great fan interactions. They love the Fed Zeno, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous. Sitting here doing my physio exercises, going to physio twice a week. I am a little jealous, but one of the next questions I had for you was, I've been told by many of your players, current and former, that you drive the bus for all games. I have heard about the eighth wonder of the world. You want to expand a little bit on that?
Oh gosh, we were just having fun, and so yeah, we're coming back from a road trip, and normal stuff. If the bus driver gets tired, I'll just hop in behind the wheel. That started our first year in Danville. Bus driver kept pulling over to sleep, and we're like, "What are we doing? We just want to get home." And finally, he was like, it was a snowstorm. There was ice. He had been driving all night, and we were sleeping in a rest area. There's no food. There's nothing to do. We're just at like a, side of the road rest area. And there's a vending machine and a bathroom inside. So I was like, let's get up the road. Let's go eat somewhere or get out of here. And I just hop behind the wheel and release the parking brake and throw it in drive and start going. And this guy jumps up and he's like, oh, he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Go back to bed. And that's how it all started. I was like, go lay down. And he woke up. We were back home in the parking lot of the rink in Danville. He's like, oh, how'd you do? I was like, we're alive. Like,
That's amazing. That's almost like Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz. Like, go take a coffee break, Nate. Go take a coffee. Where's my coffee, Nate? Go back to bed. You can bounce.
happened was we were coming back. I think we were coming back from Elmira, and we got off the main highway. Don't know why. GPS told you to. We ended up on this country road, and we're driving towards Chattanooga, Tennessee, and there's all these signs: Ruby Falls, Ruby Falls, Ruby Falls. So we start making up stories. Ruby Falls, it's the greatest wonder of the world. Ruby Falls, the site that's never been seen. Oh, it took 7,000 years to discover Ruby Falls, all this stuff. We didn't even know what it was. It was a cave. You go underground under this mountain. So you're like 2,000 feet underground, and there's a waterfall underground. So we went through this whole cave system and saw this waterfall. But yeah, we've been doing this stuff where on the road trips, we've been stopping at like attractions, roadside attractions, and just having fun and doing goofy stuff. And yeah, last week leaving Delaware, we went to DC, and we were sightseeing there and rented those scooters. I'd never rented a scooter before, and flying around on the scooters, doing laps around the White House. Might have been chanting "Let's go, Brandon," but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But yeah, it's just about having fun, and what it's like. You're on a road trip. It's miserable. You've been sitting in the same seat for 10 hours, or something like ours, 20 hours. You talk about your butt going to sleep, like it's gone. Like your hips are trash. You feel like you almost just want to die in the middle of these road trips, like the way your back feels and your knees and your ankles, and you're starting to swell up. And then all of a sudden, all you're eating is McDonald's. I call it Uncle Mac's Steakhouse. Like I made Uncle Mac's Steakhouse 3 times today. My sodium's through the roof. Like I'm dying here. But yeah, we've just been having fun, and I think the more the guys smile and have fun, the better they play. They enjoy coming to the rink every day, and single A it's a tough grind. Not everyone's cut out for it. So the guys that tough it out and been through everything with us this year, I just wanted to reward them sometime. So yeah, took them to the eighth wonder of the world, the waterfall under the mountain in Chattanooga, Tennessee, hidden in the mountain. I don't know how we got the bus up the mountain and parked in the parking lot of this place. I'm telling you, if you ever go in a car, you'd be like, this guy drove the bus up this hill.
To be honest with you, like this is one of the reasons why I started like doing like my vlog and documenting everything on film, because obviously not to the extent of the Fed, but in previous years I would go through these experiences where I thought to myself, like, if I told somebody this story, they'd say that I'm full of shit. So if I just like film it and then show them the video, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then you live in the moment. But this kind of stuff, like you mentioned, like fly the drone up by the mountain while you're taking the bus up the hill, and oh, there goes Pacer going up and around the mountain. Like that would have been awesome.
I wish we had that a few years ago. We tried to do the same thing with the Prowlers, and our bus driver, he's going down this road. I'm sleeping, and Dolan J looks over at Graham and goes, are we supposed to be on this road? Graham goes, I don't know. He said, it's 3 axles or more not allowed. Do we have more than 3 axles? They're like, yeah. And they're like, you sure we should be going up this hill? And the signs go from green to yellow to red, like, warning, hazard, do not go. I wake up as the bus is tipping over on its side. And I just almost stand up on the window and I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. I'm repeating myself screaming. I think Z was dying laughing the way I went from like sleeping to just right up like the Undertaker, just popped up and it was game on. I was out the door of the bus. The bus was up on a rock. The wheels were off the ground. We had to get towed out of there. It was an absolute disaster. I'm surprised the DOT didn't come in and be like, arrest our driver for going up that hill. But yeah, tried to make a hairpin turn in the bus and took us right into the side of the ditch on the mountain. Thank God we didn't go the other way and go off the mountain. We just went into a ditch.
I was going to say, if we could get all the guys on the right side of the bus to come over to the left side, that'd be great right about now.
Like right before that, we needed that. And it was that was a wild one. Another one was I think it was first ever road trip in the Fed. We ended up on this dirt road going up a mountain, and I was like, I woke up to branches scraping the windows. I'm like, what are we doing? I'm like, where are we going? Everyone's like, this is where GPS is taking us, and this is when GPS was on iPhone 2s or on Blackberries. And I get up to the front and I was like, guys, stop. Where are you going? And I get off and we get flashlights and we walk up ahead. Well, up ahead, there's a little cabin. I'm like, okay, we passed the cabin. I'm like, talking to the guy I'm walking with. I'm like, Lindy, where are we going, man? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what's ahead? I was like, where could we possibly go? All of a sudden, he puts his arm out. He's like, stop. I'm like, oh, we look down. It's just a straight drop off. We look up. There's a gondola above us. We're on a ski hill. We were like 100 yards from just driving the bus right down a double black diamond. I'm like, what are we doing? We had to back down. That was a disaster. But yeah, we got out of there.
It's never a dull moment in the Fedzino, huh?
When it comes to buses, road trips, and bus drivers, never a dull moment. Never. I'm like, there's so many times I'm like, how did we end up here? You would think travel would be some of the easier stuff. You got a professional driver. Like, it's like taking care of more children.
I don't know if I should. I got to be careful on how I word this. One of the first things I was told by Motor City Management this season, right after training camp, was we want to be very clear. No talking about the bus. Leave the bus stories out of the vlog. The team meals as well, please. And it took only one road trip for me to figure out, it's almost like they knew this was going to start happening. It's almost like they knew. They're like, oh, we're going to... actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to get...
The biggest problem is there's no mechanics anywhere that work on buses. If you want to make money... just go to school and become a diesel mechanic and specialize in working on buses, because no one could find a bus mechanic. And the minute you do, they always charge like $95 or $100 an hour for their services, and everything's expensive. Like, I don't think I've had an oil change for less than $3,000 on a bus. Like, it just doesn't happen. I was like, we all need vans as backups. Like, everyone should have like a backup. I was like, if Harvard's D1 baseball team could travel in 15-passenger vans, like, we could take a trip in a 15-passenger van too.
Almost kind of like the Titanic, having lifeboats on the actual ship. So if the bus goes away, we can just get into the vans that we're towing, all 15 of them, and then just make our way out.
Oh, that's even better than what I was thinking. I was just like, we need them stationed all around. I'm like, 2 vans in Columbus, 2 vans in Winston-Salem. Like, we just got to Winston-Salem last weekend. We parked, everything was good. And we get to go on the bus Friday morning to go to morning skate. Won't move. They come out, they do the diagnostics. Tranny's blown out. Tranny's gone. I'm like, we blew our tranny in the parking lot. Like, okay. Like, so we left the bus there. We got to ride home on their bus. People were honking at us as we were leaving town. I think they thought we were the home team. We're like,
thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah. Everyone wanted to leave an upper decker in their bathroom. I'm like, we're not doing that in their bathroom. I'm like, just stop it. I'm like, let's leave their bus clean and be respectful. They're like, no, upper decker.
That's an absolute credit in court if I've ever heard one.
Right? I was like, if we're not shitting on our bus, we're definitely not shitting on other teams' bus. I was like, I'm not dealing with that cleaning fee and everyone yelling at me. I was like, that's serious disrespect.
Oh my God, that's amazing. We only got a couple more minutes here, but one story I did want to ask you about as well was I heard from one of the players in Mississippi that you guys go down to Carolina, and a fan offers you a cigarette outside the arena, and you offer him a contract for the night and said, "Hey, do you want to play for us tonight as well? If you don't mind, handing out smokes at the intermission, and maybe you fight in the first and the third." You want to comment on that?
Yep, and no, I have a lot of good friends down there. The fans in Carolina are awesome, but yeah, I was going around before that game on the 23rd before Christmas. We showed up there with 6 skaters and a goalie. I was willing to take anyone. I was like, "You want to dress?" I was like, "I don't even need you to play. Just sit on the bench so the fans think I have more players." I was like, "I'll play the whole game. You just sit on the bench." And they were like, "What?" But yeah, that night I think I picked up like 55 minutes. Tim Payne 55. Our forwards that were there were all about 40 minutes plus that night. So the guys that did fill in, they put in some serious minutes as well for being just fill-in guys. And I think one of the guys was like, like strict men's league senior player, like never wanted to play competitive hockey. He's like, "Oh man, what did I get myself roped into?" But that was a fun night. But we brought in one of our fans. I was like, "Hey Matt, come on in here." Came in. I was like, "One of our guys wants to celebrate playing 55 minutes with the smoke in the room like an old school pro." And so yeah, we got beers and cigarettes in the locker room in Winston-Salem, and yeah, everyone was having fun. Danny Matitrick, who's now in Danbury, he was I think the ringleader of that whole thing. Him and Blake Wyrick, those two. But yeah, darts in the room like we're like Guy Lafleur or something.
Yeah, Wyrick told me the other day that you played about 34 minutes nonstop first and almost the entire second period. You needed a break, so you took a hooking penalty, or it might have been a roughing penalty, running some guy through the boards. Got a 2-minute break and then came back on after that. You only took 6 minutes off, so you took 3 penalties that night for 6 minutes of rest.
No, actually, that night I was good, one penalty. But yeah, I did get off for a shift here and there. But last time we had to do that with 3D, the guys were like, "What are we going to do?" I was like, "Easy, simple. You two change for each other. I'll play the whole game." They were like, "What?" And yeah, we did that in Watertown 2 nights in a row one year, won both games. And then we did it in Watertown and Elmira, won those games. But usually my roommate was Big Z, who you know very well, 72, Big Zach Zolkanic. Zach would come in the room and he was like, babying me Pedialyte after the game and go get the other guys. He's like, "Come in here, look at him. He's green. He's going to die." So yeah, anytime you play over 50 minutes, you're just absolutely trash your body. But I wasn't planning on doing it any of the times. It's just when we go on the road short, you do what you got to do. Show must go on. You want to win road games. And, even if we only got 11 skaters, like, I'm not mailing it in. I'm not saying you could have these points. You're going to have to kill me to take these points.
Well, when you're one of the greatest entertainers in all professional sports, and especially in professional hockey, you show up with 6 guys. Like you said, the show must go on. I don't care if I got to sign 10 guys outside in the parking lot to just sit on the bench and make it look like we have a full squad. The show will go on, and we will play, and we will win tonight.
We're going to try. And yeah, we've always had success with short rosters. I think everyone does. They underestimate you. You get there, and then everyone's just really into the game. They're dialed in. You're going every other shift. It's just like you never wait. You never get that, "Oh, it was special teams. I didn't play for 6 minutes." It's like, "Oh, it was special teams. I was on power play tonight." Like everyone's just buzzing.
I gotta say, in my 22 years of playing hockey, I've played for a lot of coaches and played for a lot of different people. I think that the things that you've mentioned in this podcast of like trying to keep the show going on, trying to create a better environment for the players, to give a better experience for the fans and for everybody. I think this is the kind of stuff that indebts your players and your fans to you, and it's why I've heard a lot of really nasty stories in the Fed about different coaches, different management, about different things, but even guys in your team right now getting screwed over by different teams and different coaches in the league currently. I have not heard not one negative story about you, just guys vouching for you and saying the most positive, most respectful things out there. And yeah, it's been an awesome podcast, and I'm excited about potentially doing one in person for next season. I know we agreed to do the Zoom one for today, and we'll catch up in person sometime next season. But it's been a really exciting show to do with you, Pacer.
Man, thank you so much. And yeah, I got to start hanging out with all these guys, I guess, that talk so well about me. But yeah, we should have, fans, this was just part one. I think we forgot to say it in the intro. This was part one. So there'll definitely be a part two. And yeah, there's so many stories. I don't even think we tapped into some of the crazy coaches I played for that, turned me into this maniac who I am today. So, thanks to John Brophy and a couple of guys like that, yeah, I'm an absolute lunatic. And yeah, we didn't even
And
touch
I got
on Weyburn when I was up in your neck of the woods, and my truck wouldn't start for weeks on end. And when I was in Weyburn, I just have to walk to the rink in -40.
I mean, from that, I've heard about the bus on the road in the Fedzino. It breaks down 3 miles from the rink, and you made the guys walk 3 hours to the rink and said, "Hey, the show must go on." To being suspended, you're in the crowd, a bench clearing brawl breaks out, and you hop the bench to go join in. But these are all things. These are all things that we'll cover in person, whether it's next year in Mississippi or if it's in Motor City or wherever I may end up. Because I'm assuming you'll be in Mississippi for a while, but I don't know where I'm going to be. Obviously, contracts are year to year, and I got to get my hip in running order, and we'll see where things go. But there will be a part two in person, and I really look forward to it, man. I really do.
Oh man, I appreciate it. And yeah, do your rehab, get healthy, and it's gonna be a long summer. I know it, but it's all mental. Just push through, and next year you'll see you'll be healthy again and be kicking, literally.
Literally and figuratively. Well, anyway, to everybody listening, I'd like to thank everybody for listening and thank Joe Pace for joining the podcast. And a friendly reminder that there is a new episode of Slangin The Bizkit every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 10 a.m. in Winnipeg, 9 in Calgary, 8 in the West Coast, San Francisco, Vancouver. That is 4 in Sweden, 3 in the UK, 5 in Finland, and 11 p.m. in China and Australia. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, the presenting sponsor of this podcast, Sheath Underwear. If you wanted the best pair of underwear money can buy, you can pick that up at sheathunderwear.com with the code BIZKIT69 for 20% off. Mr. Joe Pace, it's been a privilege and a pleasure, and I cannot wait to do the next one in person. Do you have any final closing comments before we cap off here?
No, Jackie Moon, ELE. Everybody love everybody.
Traded for a washing machine.